My grandma had her 90th birthday last Friday, and in this meantime, I was traveling, meeting family, seeing old friends again back in my hometown in Germany. And I had a lot of beautiful and very profound experiences in the meantime. And it made me reflect about my work and my relationship to other people and how to relate with other people about the depth or the existential depth that we are all in together. Because I find that a lot of these spiritual framings, talking about awakening or enlightenment, might be the right way to speak about this in this niche online community. But then I know that the same topic is also relevant for rationalists, and it's also relevant for very esoteric driven people. And I like to be the bridge for all of them. And I do wonder what is the right approach. I sell an ego architecture audit where I analyze people's identity and help them find the knot that helps them, that keeps them stuck in who they are. And I find a lot of it relates both to the spiritual component of finding yourself existentially satisfied, but a lot of it is just purely about finding yourself. And the real goal of everything that I do is to help people find themselves. And some people don't have any of this spiritual jargon whatsoever. And some people rely heavily on this. Some people are, atheists, and they use all of the scientific language to understand themselves. And what I find is that there are just a lot of layers to this. There are a lot of layers to the identity of the self. And the deeper you go, the deeper you get an insight about your own ego, and the deeper you start to dissolve into the sense of awareness and consciousness. But to communicate it this way, for a lot of people, has to sound, a bit religious, I guess, which is something that I kind of wish to avoid. So I do wonder what it really is that I can name that will get the message across, because I like to find a spectrum between both, the just normal everyday personal stuff and the very deep spiritual universal consciousness aspect of it all. But no matter what kind of framing you use, I find that whoever has found himself to a significant degree, which I would just classify as somebody who feels very comfortable in their own skin, is very affirmative in what they think. They don't overthink things too much, and they know where their life is headed. They know what they believe and why they believe these things. And they're just overall a confident person with no underlying deep insecurity. Everyone that I meet that is in this sort of, just basic, I found myself state has gone through immense amounts of suffering. And it feels a bit odd to say because everybody has gone through a significant amount of suffering. And then the question just remains, why do some people find themselves through the suffering? And why do some people get stuck in the suffering and then just keep ruminating and repeating the same patterns over and over again? And there is where the ego comes into play. And because of the environment of every single individual, some egos, for whatever reason, become hardened and contract, and the identity really doesn't want to change, despite it feeling awful. And some people find a way to release themselves and give in to existence. Because what really matters for you to find yourself is surrender. It is surrendering to your environment and to your experience and to your existence, but not in a passive or powerless way, but in a humble way, where you can see that you are just a little aspect of something much larger than yourself. The real surrender is something that usually comes to people because they've gone through something quite, painful or horrible. And there are, again, multiple layers of this. And I think people who have gone through either a divorce, people who have found death in some way or another, people who have had a very traumatic experience of any kind, or if you've had certain psychedelic or drug related experiences that can open you up, or if you found love, a new kind of love that opens something up, opens up your heart, opens up what you feel, opens up your awareness of other people. These are or career related. If you lose your job or your company gets bankrupted, or you find a new job and you feel very comfortable in it. A big shift usually has to happen for the sense of self to open up. And when then the sense of self opens up, usually there's a very painful process where people either move through this process honestly, or they start to look away and start to lie to themselves. And this happens in a very subtle way. And through these paths, there usually is an identity construction that then builds on a person. And this identity construction is, if you're not self-aware of how this functions, you can't see it for yourself anymore. Like, you are not able to look at yourself honestly anymore and recognize why you think the way you think, why you act the way you act. And it has such a strong force over people that, you become so blind to how your entire behavior has been built by your past experiences, and to the extent to which what you see in the world is really just what has been kind of built throughout your identity structure your entire life. What a lot of people do who have not found peace in themselves is, ironically enough, they construct a lot of meaning, which is weird, right? Because you would think that meaning and purpose is what you want or what you're looking for. But what I found more often than not is that for many, the idea of meaning and purpose is a coping mechanism. And it's not just about a grand narrative of what your life is supposed to mean, or your life is headed, but also just small things. Like, if you have some social interaction, and I can give a weird example, but I saw a bus drive by me, I think today or yesterday. And there were two women looking out the window, and they were putting out their tongue and looking at me in a very silly way, just as if they were trying to provoke me. And I just looked them in the eyes, and then I saw them pass by, and they just seemed to be having a fun time. They were roughly around my age, maybe a little bit younger. Maybe they liked me, maybe they don't like me. I have no idea. But I just saw this, and it passed right through me. And just like, oh, that was silly, that was odd. And then I went on with my day. And somebody who hasn't found themselves then starts to project or come up with so many ideas or reasons. Why did I react this way? Did they think I'm ugly? Do I have something in my teeth? Is my hair looking weird? I'm just an unattractive person. Or these people are mean. Why they are so mean to me? Or you just construct some narrative about meaning, or like, what did this situation mean? When the honest truth is always that you don't know, and you can't know. It's literally impossible if you don't find these people and then just talk to them. And usually when people find themselves, what they start to do is they don't look for this sort of meaning in like the external environment. Meaning is much more self-generated or just self-evident. Like, you don't need to wonder what it means outside of your own mind. You just know what it means for you. And of course, if you talk to other people and you try to understand them, you want to understand what it means for them. And then you connect with another, which also becomes very easy when you found yourself, because then you don't project your own meaning onto the person, but you just listen to what the other person is actually saying or trying to communicate. And this is why finding yourself is really the key to a happy and fulfilling life, because then everything flows through you without having to cling to some sort of validation for your own experience. You understand who you are, you understand your experience, and you understand where you're headed. And I want to keep helping people with that, and I find great fulfillment in making these videos, in offering services for it, and everything surrounding this is deeply fulfilling for me, because I find it is both very psychological. I would say it's mostly psychological, actually. But then there's also a real spiritual component, because consciousness and awareness, and the fact that anything exists at all, and that so many things exist and relate with each other, there's room for so much more depth than to just say, it's psychological. Because saying it's psychological, or even my own ego architecture audit, it's a certain frame, right? That boxes something in order to make it understandable. But the truth is that what you were interacting with here in existence and life is much more profound than any word could really encapsulate.